I got a Tokoloshe from a traditional healer who was staying here in Durban. This traditional healer, he ran away back to his country, to Malawi. And these are the conditions that I am being given by the Tokoloshe that I got from him. Is this even fair or not? Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you, my brother? Please, before you even start reading this confession, change my name. Do not use my real name, especially my surname, because there are people who know this story halfway. They do not know everything, but if you put certain things together, they can easily know that it is me. For the purpose of this story, you can call me Tabo. I am a South African man who was born and raised in KwaZulu-Natal. I am married to my wife, whom I will call Nomsa, and we have children together. I am not going to tell you exactly how many children, because already I feel like I will be giving too much information. The reason why I am sending you this confession is because I am in trouble. The funny thing is, if you see me outside, you will never ever think that I am a person who has problems. The disadvantage of people not knowing who you are. I was recently exercising at this other gym, and there were other guys that were next to me, and they were talking about the car that they had seen parked outside. They did not even know that I was the owner of that car. And they were thinking that the owner of that car is actually enjoying life, because those men, they were like, if I can just drive a car like that, all of my problems will be solved in a day. But they don't know that the owner of that car is not even enjoying his life. I do own trucks, not one trucks, my brother. I can't say the specific number of the trucks that I am owning, but I have trucks. I have properties. My children, they are okay. My wife drives a very good car. I am not owing school fees. If something happens at home and they say they need 20,000 rands or 30,000 rands urgently, that's not something that will make me start calling relatives. It is like change to me. But there is something following me because of the way that I got here. And now that thing wants to go to Malawi. I know how that sounds. Even me, sometimes when I think about it, I end up laughing, thinking that this creature that has made me to be who I am here in my country of birth, it wants me to relocate, to go and to live in a brand new country in South Africa. Why? Imagine working your whole life in South Africa, building a business here, raising your children here. Then one day, something tells you, my master is in Malawi. We are going home. Going home where? I am South African, but let me not start at the end, because you won't even understand. I need to start when I was still working at FNB. I worked in the banking industry for years. I won't tell you exactly which branch or position, because like I said, I do not want people identifying me easily, but I had a decent job. I was not rich. I was not poor. I was just one of those people that were doing okay, because I had a salary that was coming through each and every single month. If I owed something, if a debit order would come, debit order will go through. We had food, we could go out. Sometimes December, we could go somewhere with the children. If my wife wanted something reasonable, we could make a plan. But I had one problem. I was impatient. I wanted money. I don't mean money to buy groceries. I wanted proper money. At that time, I was seeing some of my friends that were doing okay. They had different businesses, but in particular, I had this other friend of mine from my days at university who was running a transport business. Some of these guys did not even look educated to me that were doing so well. Please, I'm not insulting anyone. I am not telling you how stupid my thinking. I'm just telling you how stupid my thinking was at that time. As a person who went to university, when I was introduced to the trucking industry by a friend whom I went to university with, when I got close to the other guys, some of them, they did not even have metric, but these guys, they would spend money over the weekend when you would have been invited to go with them to a club as gentlemen. You will see someone spending a lot of money. I became friends with my friends. I would see a guy who could not even write a proper email, driving a Range Rover, but the guy does not even know how to write a proper email. Then me, with my banking job, wearing a tie every morning, I am calculating whether I can afford another 3,000 debit order. I started thinking, no man, something is wrong here. That's how trucks entered my head. I started asking questions. How much does a truck cost? How much can it make? What about coal? What about construction? What about site tippers who give these contracts? How much does a driver earn? I was researching everything. So my friend, each and every answer that I would want from him, he would gladly provide to me. He would laugh, because once I would have reached my residency, I will tell my wife everything that he would have told me throughout the day. And if my wife will ask me a question, I will call him even in the middle of the night, just wanting to know if this trucking business, if we can also succeed. He would explain to me that you necessarily don't need to have millions sitting in your account before you even start. If your finances are right, don't you know that you can even get approved and you can finance equipment? That's where my problem started. I did not enter into the trucking industry with cash, but I entered into the trucking industry with credit on my back. My first truck was financed. When I got that truck, I was happy. I took pictures of that thing from every angle. Front, back, side, inside. I was even sleeping on the bed, me standing next to it, me pretending that I was checking a tire, and I would even post it on my Facebook. You know, when you buy your first truck, suddenly you become a motivational speaker. I was putting statuses about taking risk, building generational wealth. Meanwhile, the bank owned the truck. But the first truck actually did well. That is what made everything to be worse. If that first truck had failed immediately, maybe today I would still be a normal man that is owing money to the bank. But no, the truck started getting work. Not every day was perfect, but money was coming. I was still working at F&B, so I had my salary. Then on the side, I had the truck bringing in money. For the first time, I felt like I had discovered something. I would be sitting at work and my driver would send me an update. Load delivered, another load booked, then payment will eventually come. I started calculating. If one truck can do this, what about two? I had a Zimbabwean guy that was working for me. That man's wife would even complain to me, my husband, ever since you hired him, he does not even want to return back home. I would speak with him and I would say, Amos, I want you to return back to your wife. And he will tell me that the truck, it smelled so nice, and it was really nice when he would go over the pothole because it had this air suspension. Before that, he was using those old Indian trucks. So when I hired him, this was like the upgrade of his life. That guy, he was working, he was not resting. I was blessed that I got a driver who could go out there, speak with the clients whenever we did not have work, so that he can just go and load. But Zimbabweans being Zimbabweans, Amos then seduced me in buying another truck, and I just said, if he is working like this, because I did not even have the stress of knowing where we were going to load, he will tell me and ask me if the money has been deposited into my account after each and every load. So finally I agreed, and then I said, okay, since you are saying that you have your brother-in-law that is looking for a job, let me see if we can get another truck. That is how I became greedy. When you are in business, never allow yourself to become greedy. So I said, if one Zimbabwean guy can do this work like this and earn me this amount of money, what about two people? This is how you start to think when you are a greedy business person. You don't say, let me pay for this one. You say, let me get another one. My wife, she was actually the one that will bring me back to my senses. She'll say, why don't you wait? And I will be like, this is the season for harvest. By then, I was like, now a Christian, I am talking about Bible verses. Wait for what? We are harvesting. We are in the harvesting season. And she was like, at least let us see how this business performs over 3 years. I said, no, my love, you do not understand business. When an opportunity comes to you, you must move. Today, when she reminds me of everything, I just keep quiet because she was right. But at that time, I thought I was like, well, Patrice Mutsipe. I then financed the second truck immediately. John, the brother-in-law of my first driver, jumped into the second truck. Those guys, they were moving. They never slept. Even at night, I would say, guys, why are you doing this? Because they will call me only when they were stopped by the police. Hey, boss, what is it now, John? This police officer here, he wants to talk to you. And I'll be like, no, speak to them. Because I know that my boys, they did not have your traffic reg. They were just driving. And we were making money, and they will speak with the traffic cops, and then they will do whatever that they did on the road. If they wanted more money, then I will deposit money into the ATM, and then they will sort themselves up with the police. Then I started thinking, 3 trucks, it can make more sense, because once I was upgrading the trucks, I was also upgrading the cars that I was driving. And those cars that we were driving, they would cost even more. You could not get them fixed in the location. You had to go straight to the dealership. Can you go to the location with 2 months old Range Rover that you just bought? No, you return with it back to the dealership. So I told myself that if I can get 3 trucks, one of the truck, it will be the one that will give us the soft life, whilst the other 2 trucks will be creating the generational wealth. And if I will ever get a proper contract, companies will take me more serious. I started to shift myself from the other friends of mine that were in the trucking industry, the ones that I thought that they did not have class. I wanted people to know that this one is a truck owner. He owns 2 trucks wherever I went to. So I went for number 3. That is how I became the proud owner of the 3 trucks that did not even belong to me. Brother Nashe, let me tell you something about trucking. People see a truck on the road, you think money. A truck sees money and thinks, how can I finish this money? How can I eat my boss's money? A truck will eat your money in 1 day. Tires, diesel, driver, repairs, police, everything. If something breaks, then tomorrow something else will break. Then the customer who promised to pay you in 30 days decides 30 days actually means whenever they feel like it. But your debit order does not care. The bank does not say, oh, shame, your customer has not paid you. Do not worry, Tabo. No, they want their money. So now I had 3 trucks. I was a businessman. At the bank, I was a man with 3 problems. And because I still had my salary, I started doing something that was dangerous without realizing it. Whenever the trucking business had a shortage, I would use salary money. Driver needs something, I'll fix it. Short on installment, I fix it. Amos has a problem in Zimbabwe, I fix it. Something at home, I was using my own salary. My wife started to complain that I was supposed to have this business, but it seemed as if we had less money than before. She would ask me, where is all this truck money going to? I'll get irritated and I will be saying, hey, when a woman, business does not work like that. We are investing here. We are reinvesting the money. That was my favorite word, reinvesting. Sometimes there was nothing being reinvested. I was just surviving. Then one of the trucks started giving me serious mechanical problems. That truck nearly finished me. You fix one thing, another thing come. You take it back on the road, driver call. Boss, I started hating the word big boss when they used to call me. When a driver will call me, just know that the money is about to leave your account. There is always a problem. What is the problem now? Truck is losing power. Boss, there is a sound. What sound? I do not know, but boss, but if we don't fix this sound, we are going to lose money. Let us fix it now. Then you send another Zimbabwean guy who will tell you this and that, money, money, money. At the same time, I was desperately trying to get more consistent work. Coal was where I wanted to be. I had seen guys that were doing side tippers and I wanted my trucks to go there and to run those loads. I was tired of waiting for random loads. Then there was another logistic contractor. I am going to call him just S Bulk Logistics. That is not the real name. I had been trying to get work through people connected to that side of the business. I did not need somebody to give me money. I needed loads for my truck. That is all. Give my 3 trucks loads so that I can be able to breathe. I knew those trucks could save me if they were working, not sitting. The problem was that we were not getting consistent work. Then something happened at F&B that I was not prepared for. I am going to leave out the details because I don't want this traced back to me. Let us say that at the branch, they were busy restructuring and I eventually lost my job. That was the day everything changed. I remember going home, just sitting in the car before even entering the house. I did not even know how to tell my wife because that salary was not just salary anymore. That salary had also become part of the trucking business. It was helping me to keep everything together. Now it was gone. When I eventually told him, she was shocked. I tried to act positive. I said maybe this is God telling me to concentrate on the trucks. She looked at me. You know how your wife can look at you when she knows you are talking nonsense, but she does not want to embarrass you. She just looked at me and she said, are the trucks making enough for us? I said yes. It was a lie. If all the trucks were working, yes. If the clients were paying, yes. If there were no brokers that were running away with the money. Basically, if God personally came down and managed the company, we were going to stay in our soft life. In reality, I was in trouble. Within a short time, I started feeling the pressure. One installment was behind, another and another, and I had people that I was owing, that I was calling. I had my family. The most embarrassing thing was everybody thought that I was doing very well. People would call me and they would be like, bro, can you give me a job? Even if it is a temporary, I just want to learn how to drive a truck. And I would even send money to my relatives because I thought that people were not supposed to know that I was broke like this. I started to chase that call work even harder. I spoke to different people, but people were just saying, we'll let you know. We already have transporters. Send your documents. We'll keep your details. So of all of my drivers, the one that stayed with me, it was John, who was Amos' brother-in-law. And when Amos left, he said that he wants to try another company because his wife was always complaining, if you don't pay my husband, what do you think I'm going to eat? Is your wife not eating? Please pay my husband in time. So I was left with John. The other truck did not have a driver. That was when a Mozambican guy, whom I'll call Ernest, came into the picture. He had been looking for work, and through John, I hired him. Basically, we were just getting a few loads here and there. And then one day we were talking. I was talking with Ernest. I was just complaining, saying that I don't know what else to do. I am always getting robbed. People, when we have a contract, they don't respect it. They don't pay me in time. And then he said that he knew of this other Malawian man who could assist me to get work. So at first I thought that it was a broker, and I said, no, I am tired because of these brokers. They will just scam us, and we have used our diesel. And he said, no, this man, I know that he can assist you. When I was looking for a job, he was the one that helped me with the charms. And for you to hire me, I was using the charms. And I said, are you serious? For you to get this job, Ernest, you had to do something like that? And he said, yes, it is just talking with your ancestors. So because of that desperation and the experience that Ernest was telling me about, I said, it is not going to kill me. Let me try to go and speak with this man. He gave me the numbers of this Malawian man, whom I will call Gift Banda. He was from Malawi. The first time that I saw him, I was actually disappointed, gents. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I expected this man to be scary, wearing old clothes, but this man, he looked very normal. He was actually returning back from work. And then we sat down and we started to talk. He did not do anything that was dramatic that I had seen here and there when my wife was watching your Nigerian movies. He started to discuss with me about my trucks. He said that indeed he was the one that had assisted my worker, Ernest, whom I had left in the car. By then we had entered into the consultation room. He asked me about my work. I told him that the trucks, the business was not going very well. I was even tempted to remove the tracker, to lie that the truck, one of the truck had been stolen, sell it over to Mozambique. And then we were talking. I told him that I was not getting paid. He said that he was going to assist me to get good loads, and after he would have assisted me, he will make sure that when my truck need work, money will find me. Because he was right, he said that he did not need me to pay him upfront. I would come and pay him 50,000 rands once I get my first contract for one truck. I was supposed to give him 50,000 rands. So I said, okay, it's fine. And then he assisted me, and he told me that after I would have given him the 50,000, there were other things that I needed to do, and I was not supposed to tell my wife. And I said, yes, I can do anything. He then gave me this other leaf. It was not very big. It could even fit in the wallet. And then I put it inside the wallet, and he said, I do not want your wife to touch this wallet until you sign a contract. Let her not touch anything, otherwise it is not going to work. So I started hiding my wallet in the car. When I would arrive home, I would leave it in the car. That was what I was doing. I stayed maybe for about 2 weeks like that. and I received a phone call from this other man who was an Indian, who told me that he was no longer working as a controller in this other company. He had started his own company, and he was forwarding loads to people. He had thought about me because of my honest work, and he wanted to give one of my truck some work to carry things between Joburg and Durban. So we were carrying groceries. I said, okay. And the good thing, he was going to give me a trailer because we're supposed to use totliner trailers, and I only had side tippers. And then we started working together. So for this contract, before you would have removed your money for the diesels, I was going to be getting around about 200,000 rands minus the other expenses. So when I calculated my profit, I saw that the money that I had, which will be remaining, it was around 70,000, and I was supposed to go and give that Sangoma his 50,000 at the end of the month. So I said, okay, let me be honest with this man, because he told me that I'm going to get this contract. I went and I gave him the money. He said, the money that is remaining, I want you to go and buy a garment. It should be a 2-meter red garment, and I want you to buy a plastic drum, a blue one, and I want you to rent a house. So in that month, I was unable to rent the house because I did not have money. The following month, I got another contract, and I managed to rent a full house in Durban as well. So this was like an ordinary house that was for rent. It was a 4-bedroomed house. So I moved in there. I was paying 14,000 rands of rentals at that house. I did not put any furniture, no bed, no couch, nothing. My wife knew nothing about it because this was what the Sangoma had told me. The Sangoma had told me that I should not let my wife know that there is a house that I am renting. This was like my altar where I could perform my rituals if things were to go wrong in my life and the trucks were not making money or they were getting a lot of breakdowns. So one day, after I had complained to the Sangoma that things were not so good, my trucks were breaking down, and I had a worker that was stealing diesel. And then the Sangoma told me that I was supposed to look for a woman. Now I knew that I was going to be using someone in these rituals. So I found a woman that was from Mozambique. She was doing some piece jobs as a domestic worker around Durban. So I told her that I wanted her to clean this other house before I moved in with my family. I collected her at the robot and I drove with her to that empty house. So when we arrived there, I had another towel that I had been given by the Sangoma. I was the one that opened the front door, and that Mozambican woman, she was around 40 or something. She was older than I am. And then I told her to enter because I wanted to close the gate. So I stepped aside for her to enter inside of the house. And the moment that she was in front of me, I then put that towel straight on her nose and I pushed her inside until she fainted. When she fainted, the Sangoma was there. The Sangoma came and the Sangoma stripped her naked and did something to her body that I do not know what kind of charms he was putting in her system. And then we took that drum, the plastic drum, and then the Sangoma told me to unfold that garment that I had bought, and we wrapped him inside of that garment and we put him inside of that drum. When she woke up, she was fully dressed and I was busy outside pretending as if I was watering the flowers. She came outside and she said that she was feeling dizzy. And I said, oh, I came in there and I saw that you were sleeping. I just thought that maybe you were too tired. And she started working. She said that she was surprised. She had never encountered such a situation where she just collapsed and she woke up not knowing or remembering what happened to her after she had entered a certain house. But what this Mozambican woman did not know was that we had stolen her spirit, and we had put her spirit inside of that garment which we had locked up inside the blue plastic drum. After she cleaned the room and the windows, then I said, let me take you back because it is getting late. I drove her back to town, went with her to Spa, and I bought some groceries for him, and I took her to the taxi rank, and she said, you are indeed a good boss. She did not know that she was going to start running mad. Wherever she went to, she started to run mad. I once met her in the street after the Sangoma had told me that this was the ritual that we had done, and I said, Haibo, you are lying to me. He said, I am going to locate her in the spirit. One day he called me. I was by the office, and then he went with me to town and he showed me where this Mozambican woman was, and she was eating from the dustbin. He told me that I had to continue maintaining the property. Nobody in my family or my relatives were supposed to know that there was a house that I was renting that existed. And if anything ever happened to that drum, if somebody opened it or removed things, I was supposed to find the Sangoma immediately. And he gave me a warning. He said, make sure that no one will ever open that drum. If something happens, immediately tell me. Tell me. You do not have to go to bed without telling me that the drum has been opened. I then said, okay, fine. Life continued. My money was well, and I would go to that house. I made sure that I would pick up someone to come and clean the yard so that the owner of the house will be confused. I was making a lot of money. My wife, she was living a soft life, and I did not know that my wife already, she was thinking that I was cheating on her. Since my wife thought that I was cheating on him, she started to investigate. She was investigating me, and she would open my phone. She would check my WhatsApp. So she kept on having this feeling that her husband was busy cheating on her. So one day, the mistake that I did was that she once asked me if I was cheating, why I would go out and I would not want to go out with him. And I never thought that she thought that I would be going out to see other women. And I blame myself. I should have kept these things in my office. I would have kept this drum in a place that is very safe. So one day I got out. When I got out, my wife, she had put her iPhone inside of the car that I went out with. I wanted to go and check something by the property, and she started to follow me. When she followed me, I did not even notice that she was following me because she had Ubered. I arrived at that house, and the moment that I opened the gate, there she was. Nomsa jumped out of the car, and then she snapped her fingers and she was like, I have caught you. Today I have caught you. Where is that woman? Where is she? So you have another family. Then we entered together. I did not want to create drama. She opened the house after I had unlocked. She saw everything was empty. She opened all the room and she was like, oh, so you guys, you are about to move in together. I said, no, this house, I wanted to keep some things for our logistic. And she said, oh, you want these trucks to park in the suburbs. I was not born yesterday, you know. I was not born yesterday. Why are you lying to me? But I just bribed him and I said, there is no woman. You touch my phone, there is no woman at all. He said, okay, I am going to keep the keys of this house. Otherwise, we divorce. Right now, we are going to divorce. I look for a lawyer. you call your lawyers, we divorce this very day. And I said, okay, it's fine, you can keep the keys. Anyway, I was no longer speaking that much with that Malawian traditional healer, and I left my wife with the kids. I never thought that she would return back to that place, but women being women, Nomsa, one day she then returned back to that property. She wanted to investigate, and indeed she investigated. She opened the house, and then she opened the other rooms, and she found out that there was that blue drum that I was keeping in one of the bathroom. And she saw that there was a red garment. She opened it up. She closed everything. Immediately when she did this, that was when I saw a creature, a Tokoloshe, that walked into the office. I was at work, and I knew that this was what my wife had done. The Tokoloshe came to the office, and it told me that things were bad. Our secret was out. The moment that this Tokoloshe disappeared, the funny thing that happened was that I saw that Mozambican maid that I once hired that was running mad. I saw him entering into the office, and then she celebrated, and she said to me, God is alive. My God is alive. I have been waiting for this day. Today I am free. I have come here to give you what belongs to you. You can carry your cross on your shoulders now. And then she left the office. From that day, I immediately knew that where this Malawian woman was, she had now survived, and she was healed from her mental illness. She just disappeared. And that Tokoloshe, I saw it, and the Tokoloshe told me that my wife now knew that I was a ritualist. I returned back home. I met with my wife, and I said, why did you touch that blue drum? And I said to her, do you know what you have done? You have messed up my life. And I explained it to him that our trucks were not running very well, so I went to a Malawian traditional healer, and she was not supposed to touch it. My wife then apologized, and then she said, let us wait and see before we go and see the traditional healer. If it is ukutwala, within a second, you'll be the one that will be running mad. We waited for a week. The trucks are moving well. To this very day, there is no problem. So I forgot altogether about this Malawian traditional healer. Then this year, because of what Jacinta is doing, I started to remember about gift. It was after the June 30 situation when the Tokoloshe started to talk to me again. I tried the phone number, the one that I knew that belonged to the Malawian healer. It does not work anymore. It is just voicemail. This Tokoloshe, it is saying that it wants me to go and stay forever in Malawi. Then came 6 July, the day that I will never forget. This is the first time that I have dealt with a Tokoloshe, and I have seen what a Tokoloshe can do to you even in front of other people. So I was at a relative's place. We had organized that we are supposed to have a family prime. So we went to the liquor store. We wanted to buy some alcohol. Then later on, we can just have a nice family time, because we had some of our relatives that had came around the corner, and we were supposed to celebrate together. Whilst we were inside the liquor store, what happened to me, it was something that I had never thought would happen. We were in the liquor store. We were busy buying the alcohol. That was when this Tokoloshe pinched me hard on my testicles, and I screamed like, "Ay!" And my uncle asked me what was wrong, and I pretended that I had a cramp on my leg, but I had been pinched on my balls by that Tokoloshe. This Tokoloshe is telling me that it has given me 1 year. I am supposed to have left South Africa, and I am supposed to go to Malawi with all of my family, my wife and kids. How can I explain this to my wife that we are going to leave South Africa, never to come back? We are going to stay in Malawi until we die. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our dear brother. Let us talk about this in the comment section. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. What do you think? Is he supposed to go to Malawi, to stay there in Malawi, or is supposed to go and repent? Will his business be standing still if it happens that he goes to confess and repent and throw away all the things that he was using for his rituals? Thank God for that maid. Indeed, what she said was true, that today I have seen the grace of God. There is a God in heaven who has rescued me. Imagine that you are running mad and you know that there is someone that is making money from your madness. Let us talk about this in the comment section.